So, out of the call for Black Power, a lot of us are not aware that it was Adam Clayton Powell in 1965 who in Chicago at a Methodist church at 46 in Greenwood gave a speech called Audacious Black Power that Kwame and them found out about because in Chicago, in northern cities, to support the activism of the snake, there were committees formed called Friends of Snake. And so the snake organizers were in and out of the city, and they heard about Powell giving this speech called Audacious Black Power. And so after Kwame had been arrested 22 times, when he came out inside Snake, they had been discussing developing this new slogan. There was a lot of debate. But after this one time, they were just so outdone that Willie said, say it now, let it out. This was a strategy. Now when the strategy jumped and the white people picked it up and put it on the New York Times headline, some Negroes talking about the Black Power, the Washington Post, it shook up the whole country. So Adam Clayton Powell in September of 1966 called for the first Black Power conference at the Sam Rayburn building right here in Washington, D.C. with Maulana Karenga in the room. How many of us have the minutes of the meeting? And who was there? And what came out of it? And one of the items in that discussion was reparations. So 1967, Newark, the second Black Power conference that got infiltrated with different forces, and Clairol Hair Company gave them a bag of money. Do we know that? But reparations was still on the table. I think they beat Baraka up and had him in the street in 1967 in Newark. So in 1968 in Philadelphia, is the third Black Power conference, and reparations was on the agenda. 1969, the fourth Black Power International Conference was supposed to be held in Barbados. But the Barbados government said there was too many radicals and revolution, so they blocked it. I think it was held in Bermuda with just a few people. So 1969, in Detroit, Michigan, the Black Left Labor Movement forces had a conference on black economics. And out of that, they came up with a strategy to focus in on the national churches or whatever, the world churches or whatever, and ID the Riverside Church, which is the most wealthiest Quaker church in the country. And James Foreman and his crew, who had been the executive director of SNAPE, went up into Riverside, went down the aisles and disrupted the white people's church service and shut the church service down one Sunday morning and asked for $500 million now. And didn't stop there. For 30 days, they marched around the National Council of Churches in New York and picketed every day for 30 days. Then in 1970, in Atlanta, Georgia, in August, now we done got so black, we finally discovered that we was African. And so the Congress of African People meeting was held in Atlanta. And we was chanting, "We are an African people." We got so black that Whitney Young had on a dashiki. This is the truth. But at that meeting, once again, reparations was on the agenda. So out of CAP came the African Liberation Support Committee. Mozambique, Angola, Guinea-Bissau, Southern Africa, Namibia was on fire. And some of the movement forces went to Mozambique and asked what they could do. Owusu, Saduki, Howard Fuller. This nigga all went back to Howard Fuller, but that's don't let us get started. But they came back and said what we could do was organize, support, and create the first African Liberation Day march, rally, and parade, May 27th, right here in Washington, D.C. And we was marching in the streets here with signs saying, "We are an African people." 1972, Washington, D.C. But before that meeting, I skipped over something because 2 months before that in Gary, Indiana, was the National Black Political Convention. 10,000 black people from all over the country. Willie Davis, I think you was trying to be there. You was a young man. I've been seeing you for 55 years. We didn't got old, but we ain't lost our memory. So the word protracted. For the next wave of young people, I'm begging you to study, to go get the document and not be faked out by all this social media discourse that's full of shit. So Queen Mother Ball walking the hallways and lobbying with a flyer she made up. I can hear it now in the halls in our African regalia saying, "Boy, reparations now, reparations now, reparations now." All in the hall, she and Imari Obadeli in Gary, Indiana, March 1972, and forced the convention to put in the National Black Political Convention agenda the demand for reparations, and urged the convention to take it to the Democratic Party candidates and the Republican Party candidates. This ain't nothing new, just because the Negro is talking about it in a hearing on television. This ain't nothing new. This is protracted nature of social movements if you study them. Movements have peaks. Movements have lows. Movements have ups. They have downs. They have schisms. And now, right now, we're in the embryonic stages of a peak. But it's getting ready to get picked off with confusion.
Amen.
You know doggone well, and that's another thing. I'm through.
Go to 1988.
So the question is, where are we? That's the question. Where are we? You know, you just have to love our people. You want to hate them, but you just gotta love all the Africans. You gotta love them, because we way out. This damage is deep. What has happened to us? So full repair remain. It means you got to get repaired, and it's basically how we think and how we see the world, to come back and see the world as African. And we don't know that so much of our leadership looks like us, but it's directed from a European view of the world. This is what's got us trapped. Ideas are weapons of war. And if you don't understand the ideas and this project called white supremacy, and the capturing and introduction into the Africans in the diaspora as property, as currency, as commodity, as chattel, what that did to us is what reparations, the repair is. The repair is coming back to yourself. That is the repair. So reparations is a tactical maneuver. It's not an end objective. It's tactical. So, look, I don't know what else to say. I see my friend Sid Gore. When Sid Gore was the President General of the UNIA, and just because he got a little older, he used to carry my bags too. Sid Gore made me the ambassador to the UNIA for reparations. I want to thank you. That was the greatest honor I ever received
Still doing it.
in the reparations.
Still doing the work.
Then they voted him out. But listen, all tactics are on the table. All tactics.
That's right.
All strategies have to be coalesced. So I don't care if you're in the Uhuru movement or the African Socialist Party or the whatever wing of the new Black Panther Party you're in. Let's all get on the same page. And the page is full repair. That's the page. You want to overthrow capitalism, go on and overthrow it. But it's full repair. Y'all want to start a war and get 13 states, go for it. But it's full repair. Full repair has to become the nomenclature that we push to check these Negroes who are talking about a check. We have to have a counter narrative. You know what a counter narrative is? Y'all have been to college. I know everybody in here got a degree, 2 or 3 of them probably. Y'all some literate Negroes. Don't let me call you out, including myself. So where we are right now is, look, we still do not understand how 9/11 set us back. I mean, how many of y'all was in Durban, South Africa? Was anybody? Look, and you imagine 400, look, do you know what the untold story of Durban? Let me just end here. And let me get this out, because I never have really tried, I never really talked about this in my public analysis of Durban. But the civil rights leadership in Durban was undermining what we were trying to do. And they were working with the Democratic Party and the United States government to stop us from pushing the transatlantic slave trade. Slavery and colonialism were a crime. Now that's a fact. And some of them now is talking about reparations. And one of them in the hearing, who's a well-known actor, was with him. And he now starts off his hearing saying the transatlantic slave trade was a crime. "400 people shook up a conference of 15,000, 165 nations in the world. It was probably one of the most, and this was evolutionary. This was not just we did something great. It's because we followed and understood Malcolm. We understood Garvey. We understood Robinson, who all were pushing the idea of exposing the United States before international bodies. We just happened to pick that tactic and strategy based on study, based on organizational capacity to take study into activism. Are y'all with me? So look, after that, we still had a big march down here for reparations, and we had some lawsuits, teacher, farmers, Pellman, the corporate. We was in court, and the courts consolidated these lawsuits in the federal court in Chicago with Judge Norval, and we had 2 lawyers volunteered pro se, Lionel Baptiste and Roger Wareham. They had 100. They had 100 lawyers in court to protect 20 European multinational corporations. You hear me? We had them dead to right. They threw it out to the statute of limitations. You think we're going to have to do that? And while all that was going on, Ogletree and that group, the restitution, whatever they called their group, strategized and filed a lawsuit in Tulsa. Tulsa raised by 1921. They threw that out, saying it happened too long. So that's where we are right now. That's really where we are. We're making a comeback from 9/11, and it's caught on, but it's being hustled on social media. I can't say it enough. We can't let our ancestral sacrifice of having been captured over here for some Negroes to hustle and exploit the deep-seated damage that has occurred to us over a check. Because you know and I know if they was victorious in 2020 and the white people decided to give the Negroes a check, you know we would give it all right back. You know that. Because the first element of repair is your mind. That leads your behavior. It takes you back to your culture. So you know who you are. That's it.